Welcome to Demystify Magic with Molly and Madison.
I'm Molly, a former skeptic turned full-time energy healer and teacher.
And I'm Madison, a born and raised witch running my family's crystal shop.
And we're here to explore all things woo through the lens of both science and spirituality so that you can find the moments of magic in your everyday life and create an intentional spiritual practice.
So if that's what you're into, find a cozy spot, take a deep breath, and let's demystify some magic. Howdy doody, friends.
Howdy doody, friends.
We are back for the third installment of elementary school. You're welcome, Molly. I give you one.
Finally.
You
Finally.
get one indulgence in your puns. And that's it.
Hey, someone commented saying that they loved that title. So we're giving the people what they want.
We're giving the person what they want. One person. That's the thing about Molly and I. All it has to be is one person. One person tells us that they want an episode. One person tells us that they like something, and we're like, the people need it. Everyone's begging.
Likewise, one person could make a mean comment, and we're like, everybody hates our podcast. Let's throw in the towel. Famously,
it was maybe one person who said that they didn't like the reruns, and we were like, well, we're canceling the podcast. It's over. And you know what? Last week's episode that we famously filmed while I was waiting for the police to arrive at my home, that was for you.
That was for you,
who doesn't
one
like
person.
Reruns, because there was no opportunity for us to re-record. And I had you in my heart when I said, no, it's fine. I can record. It's okay, you guys. I'll do it.
I just want to give a shout out to Lily, the real MVP
God.
of this podcast, because I don't know how much content we sent her to clip down to be that episode, but it sounds so seamless.
We finished recording and I was like, well, that episode's 5 minutes long.
Somehow she made it sound good. I was like, wow, you can't even tell that you're spiraling into despair and Drew is interrupting every 5 minutes.
Oh yeah, that was the best part. Is that I couldn't record that episode in the... Here's a little BTS moment, is that I couldn't record that episode in my office where I could close the door. I had to record that episode in my kitchen because the incident that caused me to call the police happened right outside my office window.
Yeah.
And so Drew was sitting 3 feet from me the whole time that we were recording. Mm-hmm. It was quite the day, but... You know what? It can only go up from here.
You can only go up from here. The whole story's over on our Patreon. If you have not joined yet, you should really join, because when we... Should I tell them about the 500 subscriber goal?
I think that you should go to our page and see what Molly set as the 500 subscriber
reward
challenge.
Yeah. So when we get 500 paid subscribers,
There's a little treat for you.
There's a little treat. It's up on our Patreon now. So demystifymagic.com. If you want to support the pod, we'd love to have you over there. We're having a blast. We started an impromptu book club.
We've got group chats. That's been my favorite part.
Chats. Yeah. My favorite part is that you and I share a login. And so no one ever knows when it's you or me talking. And sometimes we'll talk to each other and it just looks like we're having a mental breakdown.
Oh, yeah, it is. It's like become a little fun game that we all play, which is who's speaking. And we've just decided, I guess, that we're not going to take the very easy route, which is like signing off or like saying who's speaking in the messages. No.
Using an emoji.
Nope. There's nothing that we could possibly do to rectify the situation. You just have to guess.
And that's the fun of it. That's the fun of the group chat. It's like people have come into our Voxer and are just
and we're all hanging out together.
Yeah, it's great. So anyways, today we're talking about fire.
And we're going to be on fire today. Don't even worry about it. But first, Molly, what was your magic moment this week?
Okay, this feels like a million years ago now, but someone reminded me that I didn't actually mention it. I teased it, and then I didn't mention it in a magic moment. And so I got to cross off something off my bingo board a couple weeks ago. I won sponsor games.
Oh, yeah.
You might be thinking, what is sponsor games? Why was it on your bingo board? Well, I put it on my bingo board as like a tee-hee-ha because I was just like, oh, wouldn't it be fun if I won this thing that I didn't know anything about before I went there? I vlogged the whole thing. So if you want to see like all the manifestation rituals I did and all the preparation, all the silly things I did when I was in Texas. It's up on my YouTube. We'll link it in the show notes. But my internet friend, Justin Moore, he's like a sponsorship coach. And so he was a big part of me early on in kind of like my journey to where I am now, and helped me basically like land sponsorships so I could quit my job, which then gave me enough space to like start this podcast and like create content I wanted to and start my training program and all of that. So I will ride for Justin Moore. He's at Creator Wizard everywhere. He has a new book. It's called Sponsor Magnet. He's the best. He's just like the most genuine dude. And so when he said he was doing his first in-person event and it was going to be a competition, I was like, great, I will be there and I will be winning.
Of course.
Of course. To the point where at the first like networking event, I introduced myself to one of the event sponsors. He was like, hi, I'm RJ. And I was like, hi, I'm Molly Donlin. I will be the grand prize winner. I cannot wait to be a Paperform user for life. And he was like, okay.
Cool. Great. Love the confidence.
And so I just had like this very like, I just decided to do the manifestation thing that people always say where it's like, live like you already have it. And I was like, cool, we're going to be like over the top and delusional and just like, I'm just going to spur everyone in this room, because despite a room full of content creators, there were a lot of introverts. And so I was like, okay, someone has to be the loud one who's like hyping everyone up in these games. And that was me. Mm-hmm. That was me in the back of the room, just screaming, let's go, every time I got a question right, and jumping up and down, shooting a money gun, you name it. Anyways, I won this competition, and that was like a magic moment in and of itself. The whole journey was just like super fun. But the magic moment that you all are first to hear about is that our listeners actually won a prize from Sponsor Games.
Woot woot. I'm very excited about this.
One of the surprise grand prizes was that I get basically a trip, all expense paid trip out to Chicago to use Kit Studios, which is like a video podcasting studio. And I was like, cool, since I'm paid for it, I'm going to pay for Madison to fly out. And so
I love my sugar mama, Molly.
I was like, it's a write-off.
It's a write-off.
You all have been asking for a video podcast for ever, and we're not going to commit to having this podcast be a video podcast forever, but what we will commit to is we will go out to Chicago. We have 2 days in the studio, and we will film a fun little series, and we will have a series of this podcast as much as we can. So if you have ideas for series, I would love, like, I don't know about you, but I would love like a easy to bundle series, like the chakras or the elements that we're doing right now, where it's like packaged, like we know we have 6 episodes kind of thing. So if you have any ideas, pop them in the form in our show notes, and maybe you'll see them on video coming soon.
I'm very excited about this.
Me too.
I wasn't expecting that I would win a prize when you won the sponsor games, you know?
Yeah, I got off stage and I immediately voice memoed Madison. And I was like, how do you feel about going to Chicago?
And I said, sign me up.
And if you're like, Molly Madison, you're not going to get anything done. That's not true, because Joe is going with us. Joe, my famous editor for YouTube, who is very fun and also very organized. And so I was like, we need a handler.
Yeah, we will have a handler coming. Don't worry. Someone to say, hey, get your ass back in gear.
Yep. What was your magic moment?
Mine is also about winning a competition.
Oh my God.
So
we are winners.
We are winners on this podcast. Okay. I was just on vacation. I was on a cruise, which is why we had to record that episode even though I was in distress last week. It was because I was going out of town for a week and would have no internet. So it was literally record or run another rerun. And what can I say? The hate, it burrows deep in my heart. I feel it. But I was on a cruise for 6 days. It was really excellent. And one thing, it was Drew and I went, my partner Drew, not Molly's editor Drew.
That would be weird.
That would be weird. We should switch Drews for a day. That's a fun content thing. We swap Drews. Anyways, unrelated. That was a really good idea, no? Anyways, my boyfriend Drew and I went on a cruise, and we're not really like, I don't know if you've been on a cruise. I think that this is like also kind of a Florida thing because there's like 50 million cruise ports like out of Florida. And so
Sure.
most people I know, like their family vacation growing up was cruises. I really enjoy a situation in which I have to be forced to relax because what there is to do on cruises is trivia, go to a magic show, a puzzle competition, or casino. One thing about my boyfriend Drew is he does enjoy a casino. One thing about me is I love a slot machine. I am an iPad baby. And a slot machine is a grown-up iPad baby. You know, like it's just
iPad baby with higher stakes.
Exactly. But I just like put $10 in a slot machine, put it on the 1 cent thing, and you have like half an hour's entertainment, you know? My thing with the casino
You can do that.
Yeah.
I've literally never played a slot machine.
Oh, we'll go. Don't worry. Anyways.
Where are the slot machines in Chicago?
Going to a casino in Chicago. Adding it to the itinerary. Anyways, on this cruise, they had like little tournaments, and it was like $25 to enter. They had a blackjack tournament, and they had a slots tournament. 2 things I enjoy doing. I called my dad after this cruise because I realized that when I was a small child, my dad taught me how to play blackjack, and I called him and I go, "Do you remember teaching me how to play blackjack when I was like 8?" He goes, "Yeah, why?" But anyways, picture this. I'm at the blackjack tournament. This was not what I won. Other people much better at blackjack than me won that. But it was like this huge event that like 50 people showed up to. And so I was like, okay, great. This is something to do for an hour. Like I watch other people play blackjack. I lose. A fun time is had by all. I look up from across this crowd that's gathered, and I see former Survivor winner Adam Klein.
Sorry, I knew this was coming, and I also forgot this was coming at the same time.
And I am not a person who like cares a ton about celebrity. I have never been starstruck like this in my life. I gripped Drew's arm and I said, "That guy in that red tank top won Survivor. Millennial versus Gen X. He won. His name's Adam." I go on his Instagram because I'm a creep. And I'm like, I have to confirm before I like approach this person. And then he's like, "No, what the fuck are you talking about?" I see on his story, he's posted that he's like on a cruise. I'm like, that has to be him. So we're in this blackjack tournament together. I'm like, I'm vibrating. I'm like, that man has met Jeff Probst. Like, I have to talk to him. Drew fully goes, "I've never seen you this way." I was like, you don't understand. So whatever, the blackjack tournament, people have lost. It's the final. Things have calmed down. Drew has fully walked away. He's like doing something else. I'm standing there pretending to watch these people play blackjack to figure out like if it's weird to approach this man and ask if he's played Survivor. I finally do. He was so nice. He asked me if I was playing the tournament. I go, "Oh yeah, I already lost fully." Like, not interested. I told him, "Oh, but later there's a slots tournament. And that's my jam. I love a slot machine. I'll be playing the slots tournament." We have a nice interaction. I'm like, wow, he was so nice. Love when people are nice. Whatever. The slots tournament comes. He has signed up for the slots tournament. So I'm like, oh, so fully we're besties now, because if you thought I was a weirdo, you'd have been like, "Ooh, that girl's playing the slots tournament at 2. I gotta get out of here." He joins the slots tournament. He's also with his friend who played a season of Survivor I have not seen. Sorry, sir. Don't mean to be rude. Haven't watched. I'm not caught up on the last couple years of Survivor. My bad. But long story short, they had to play this tournament in rounds because there's like only 8 machines that are available for this tournament. Whatever. So I played, and then Drew plays in the second round. He sees me. He leans over and goes, "Is that your boyfriend?" Points at Drew. I go, "Yeah." He starts cheering for him in the round. We're all together cheering for Drew on this slots tournament. And then I ended up taking the prize.
Oh my God, I didn't know you won.
I won the slots tournament against
Shut up!
former Survivor winner Adam.
I love when there's a surprise in your magic moment. for me.
I intentionally left it out because I had to tell you that I met the guy from Survivor. I was fully like live texting Molly during the like watching it while it unfolded.
I think I was on my run when you first texted me. You texted me and you're like, this is my fangirl moment. And I was like, I love that for you. I went on my run. And when I got back, I was like, how's it going? You're like, we're besties now. He's cheering Drew on.
It was so
fast.
Good. It was so good. It was thrilling. And I saw him like 2 or 3 more times. And he would just be like, hey, whatever. Like he saw Drew like playing blackjack or something later on the cruise. He goes, don't lose all your winnings. I was like, oh, Adam.
You guys
You're
like
so silly.
besties? Are we going to have him on the pod? Like what?
Listen.
What is the next step?
You texted me and go, does he know you're a famous podcaster? And I said, no, I was trying so hard, but there was no good way to slip it in. I should have invited him. I should have been like, listen, let's talk about manifestation. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know
Adam, what are you doing on Monday?
Yeah, how did you manifest your Survivor win? Really, I'll abandon what this podcast is about to talk about Survivor. It was so good.
All I know about Survivor is that they do their little meetings every week around a fire.
So maybe we should talk about the thing we talked about. We said we were going to talk about this week. Yeah, fire is your life in Survivor. That is famously what we say. In this game, fire is your life. Okay, sorry.
And some could argue that fire is closely tied to your life force when it comes to the elements.
That was an excellent segue. I forgot that we are here to talk about anything else.
I know. Madison thought we were recording a Court of Molly and Madison.
Sorry, I just got really excited. But before we go any further, let's hear a word from our sponsors.
This episode is sponsored by Conscious Seed.
You know those times when the cosmos are clearly trying to tell you something, but you're like, could you maybe just email me instead?
Chelsea Joelle basically does that. She's an astrologer and the magical brain behind Conscious Seed. And her readings, they feel like your bestie texting you advice that comes directly from the stars.
Whether you're in a big life transition or just trying to understand why everything feels like molasses, Chelsea's astrology sessions bring so much clarity and they're full of self-love.
She also offers Celestial Circles, which is a virtual astrology meetup online to give you even more guidance so you're not out here doing shadow work on a solar eclipse by accident.
Been there. Don't recommend.
Her approach is grounded, gentle, and genuinely transformational. Think astrology as a ritual for self-tending, not just a personality quiz.
Use the code DEMYSTIFYMAGIC for 10% off her readings or upcoming cosmic offerings at the link in this episode's description. Your chart is waiting.
And the stars are like, finally, we've been screaming.
Thank you again to Conscious Seed for sponsoring this episode.
And we're back. Anyway, we're here to talk about fire. If you haven't listened to the other 2 episodes in this elementary school series, you should maybe do that first. Because we're just going to jump right into it. So, traditional Chinese medicine does have a fire element, unlike last week.
Good.
Fire is the most yang element. So, if you've listened to any of our seasonal equinox solstice episodes, you're familiar with the word yang. If not, in Chinese medicine, there's basically like 2 ways we categorize energy or describe them. The yin and yang are adjectives, basically. And yin is darker, slower, more receptive. It's turning inward. It's being rather than doing. It's stillness rather than movement. And yang is the opposite. Yang is go, 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 go. It's hot. It's fast. It's fiery. It's active. It's outward directed energy. It's very much like the summer versus yin is the winter. And so fire is the most yang of the elements. It's the maximum activity and expansion when we compare fire against any of the other elements in TCM. It's also closely tied with the heart as an organ, which is considered like the emperor of the organ because it governs blood circulation and it houses the shen, which is the spirit in Chinese medicine. So if you have an imbalance in that fire element, that might show up as agitation, anxiety or disturbed sleep. That's because the heart governs the blood circulation and houses the spirit or the shen. Sometimes this is described as the mind also. So it's kind of like an agitation of the mind. So we can see that show up like agitation of the mind during the daytime might show up as anxiety, and at night might show up as we have a hard time sleeping or we have nightmares and things like that. That's like when we have that excess fire, too much fire. It might also show up as excessive sweating or a flushed face. But on the other hand, if we don't have enough fire, that can show up as like restlessness or cold hands, cold feet, just feeling generally sort of like disconnected. I think so often when we think about fire and the heart, I think about that sense of connection to self, connection to others, but also our drive. And that ties into the fire element as it relates to the chakra system, because fire governs the solar plexus, which is just below the heart, like at the base of the sternum. And the solar plexus is your home of your power. It's your confidence. It's your willpower. It's your get up and go. It's your passion. It's truly your fire, what lights you up.
Yeah, and I think that like solar plexus connection is where a lot of the beliefs about fire in general paganism, witchcraft come from, because it is very deeply tied to passion and to creativity. Mm-hmm. So in tarot, the wand suit is connected to fire. And wands are all about that thing that lights you up inside. It's all about mm-hmm. that thing that like gives you that get up and go energy. Like what gets you up out of bed in the morning. That is where that fire energy comes in. And especially that creative energy. Artists, I see a lot of wands in their spreads. You know, anyone who has that creative drive, even like people like chefs, have that fire energy. Like any sort of like creative path, I end up seeing a lot of wands in their readings because they have that thing that propels them forward.
What I just realized is, so in case you're just tuning in, Madison and I are training to run a half marathon together. And what I've noticed is after I run, I feel like I'm able to unlock that creativity, right? Like this morning, I was like, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to do anything. I was this close to being like, maybe we shouldn't record today. But I was like, I'll go on my run and then see how I feel. And then afterwards, I was like, all right, I'm ready. Let's record 100 episodes.
Let's do it.
And it's like that type of movement really does jostle up that fire element within the body. And like, and also impacts the heart and also impacts the breath, which is so closely tied to the solar plexus.
Yeah, and I see physical movement as really tied to fire energy as well. Like I think it's easy to bridge the gap between those two things. Like one gives way to the other because like literally when we're running, we're like lighting a fire in ourselves. Like our bodies heat up physically.
Yeah. I see like fire element in more yang movements, running, weightlifting, circuit training, you know, where your heart is pumping, and water more yin movements, like restorative, stretching, softening the body work, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And I found for me personally, when I am in balance with those types of movement, even like one gives way to the other too, I found running to be a really, really amazing tool for processing. Yeah. And I think that it kind of like we talk about these elements very separately because, you know, if we didn't, it would be a 6-hour podcast. But the interconnectedness of like when we achieve balance in one area, how that kind of helps us achieve balance in another. I think that that's an important part of this too. And I see it the most with fire because fire for me is the easiest thing to ignore. That's what I see like with people. Because it is closely tied to the things in life that kind of fall to the wayside, where we have to kind of pivot our focus, things like our creative endeavors, you know, unless you are a working artist and that's the only thing that you do.
Yeah.
That's, you know, it's considered a hobby. That's one of the first things to fall away. When I'm not taking care of myself mentally, I'm also not taking care of myself physically, which means that physical movement falls to the wayside, you know? And so when I come into balance with fire, that's where kind of everything else kind of falls into place.
Yeah. I also think fire too is like one that it's very clear when it's out of balance because it shows up in the way that you feel, but also the way that you do things in your life. Like if we think about just fire, like the physicality of fire, it can be anywhere from a pilot light to a wildfire, right? And I see the pilot light so much of like, you know, when you're feeling kind of blah, when you want to do a thing, but you can't really get started. And you know, once you start doing the thing, it's going to be easier, right? Once you ignite that pilot light and you add some fuel to it, it can sustain itself. And we see that so often in our habits, whether it's creative or our health habits or just the things that we know are going to make us feel our best, that are going to help us tap into our power. But on the other hand, we can also go too far in that direction. And we can, you know, I know for me, when I first started running 10 years ago, I was obsessed with running. This was before my OCD diagnosis, by the way. So everything makes more sense in hindsight. But I was like, I would wake up at like 4 a.m. to run 8-9 miles before going to work all day. And then I would go to the gym after work. And I didn't realize that I was just like, I was running on fumes. You know, I was just running on that fire that can't be contained until I burnt out. Look at that.
Wow. Look at us.
Out.
Get it?
Burnt out. Huh? I never thought about that until I just said that. But genuinely, like you can burn too hot and too fast in some things. And so it's like, I think the biggest thing when it comes to balancing this fire is like really not letting the fire run the show. Like I think keeping it in check with water, which we're going to talk about next week, but water is so like intuitive. It's so connected to self. It's so inward. It's so yin. I think those playing off of each other are such like a beautiful way to ensure that you have like a contained flame rather than something that is burning too hot or is snuffed out.
Yeah, for sure.
So for crystals, a couple that I really like are sunstone, because that kind of taps into the energy of the sun, which is a ball of fire.
Really?
Really? Another good one is citrine and carnelian. Citrine's great for tapping into that confidence, that power, that solar plexus. Carnelian is great for stoking that fire element, that get up and go, that motivation, that energy, that willpower, that courage.
Yeah, I also really love hematoid quartz, also known as fire quartz.
Ooh, I never work with fire quartz.
I love it if you are looking for, like, if you want to have something that, like, symbolizes each of the elements on your altar. Fire quartz is a really great way to bring in fire. The way that the inclusions, like, move through the stone, it looks like flames. And that's one that I really struggle to, like, incorporate on an altar because I'm like, I'm not just going to set something on fire. Like, that's stressful.
Candles.
Yeah, but, like... separate. I don't know. It just is different. Like,
gotcha. Yeah. Okay.
Just,
I'm with you.
I see you. I understand.
I'm hearing you.
But I need something that I don't have to be looking at all the time. Like if I'm going to do candle magic and I want something to incorporate all 4 elements, I don't want another thing on fire.
Yeah.
You know?
No, understood. I
need a representation of that fire. I really love to use hematoid quartz for that.
I will use like spicy. Something spicy, like chili peppers.
Oh, that's nice. I like that.
Yeah, because it kind of stokes that inner fire.
If you're looking to incorporate fire into rituals, candles, obviously, like we just said, but also dance. This is something that I will do often. Like I'll use music to sound cleanse. Give a little shoulder shimmy, you know?
A little shoulder shimmy.
Do a little Macarena moment, you know?
Do the little kicks.
Yeah, give it a Cotton Eye Joe if you're feeling fancy. You know?
Do the kids still do the Cotton Eye Joe?
I don't know. I don't know how to do it is the truth. I'm sorry.
I know what we're doing in Chicago.
Joe, I'm sorry. We're going to be doing the Cotton Eye Joe in the casino. Anyways, fire is also something that you can use to like transmute. And so if like this is something that I do when I am having a lot of big feelings that I need to process is I'll bring in fire. What I think is so cool about fire is that like it's the closest thing that we have to looking at like raw, untouched energy. You know, it's something we can see but we can't touch. Like it's there but it's not there. And that makes it very deeply spiritual to me. It feels like almost portal like. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so when I'm working with fire, I feel deeply connected to that kind of change energy. And so if I have things that I'm looking to make different, if I have things that I'm looking to transmute, fire is my go-to element that I want to bring in. And I think that's why I find candle magic to be so powerful, is it's literally mixing my pure intention with that deeply transformative energy.
Yeah, I also think of fire as like fast transformation because it's like goes up in flames, you know?
Yeah. And literally think about what fire does like to wood, right? It takes this part of a tree and turns it into ashes. You know, like there's nothing more transformative than that to me.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, something that I really like doing is we're not a bonfire because bonfire sounds too intense, but we're like a backyard fire family. You know, we have a little silly, goofy campfire in the backyard and make some s'mores and burn some brush. And something that I started doing a couple years ago is I turn my dryer lint into fire starters. And when I was writing my book, in the laundry chapter, I was coming up with a bunch of different ways that you can make dryer lint magical so that you actually like clean the dryer. And I thought about it in these fire starters that we're creating where we basically take like, it's a toilet paper roll and then you stuff it with dryer lint and then you put like candle wax or like my husband uses bacon grease or like whatever kind of like waxy, greasy, oily kind of whatever. And then you light it, and that's how you start your fire pit. But I thought this is such a powerful, like, full moon transmutation ritual because you're literally taking your lint from the clothes that you were wearing all week, right? So the energy you've been marinating in. And then writing down on the toilet paper roll or on a piece of paper that you shove in there what you want to release. What you want to let go of, and then ceremoniously burning it away.
I love that.
And starting this like new flame that brings warmth and like, I mean, I make s'mores around it, so brings joy. But is like such a powerful tool for like releasing just whatever it is you want to let go of.
I love that. I get maybe 2 good weeks of bonfire weather. So I've got a lot of, I shove it all into that little period. You know, I save all my dryer lint.
Yeah.
Bags and bags of it. But I love that.
Love it. I also really love candle magic for sparking motivation. I find that is like one of the most effective tools for me is just like making a candle for motivation, whether it's motivating me to work, to do something creative, to clean my house or whatever, and lighting that candle and just letting that be the first step of doing the thing. You know how they say, like, if you struggle to, like, motivate yourself to exercise, put your socks on, and then you'll put your shoes on, and then you'll walk out the door, and then you take that step? To me, lighting that motivation candle is like putting my socks on.
For sure. Totally. I love that. Yeah, I think that, so one of the candles that we have at Hedge Witch is creativity and inspiration. And that,
my favorite.
To me, I know. I think that it's your favorite because it is so aligned with the element of fire. It's perfect for candle magic. And that really does, it gives a physical representation to that, like, first spark of creativity, that first spark of inspiration. And I don't know, I think that that's like a perfect way if you are not someone who feels super, like, if you're someone who's looking to get into candle magic, I think that that's a great place to start.
Yeah. I also, like, this just dropped in while we were talking, so I feel like we should speak to it because someone is out there listening thinking about this. But what would you say to someone who feels afraid of like tapping into the fire element? Because there is like fire has this like fear element to it, like burning everything to the ground or burning too hot and fast can be scary.
I would say that when nature is in balance, we still have wildfires. Those are a natural and necessary and important part of our natural ecosystem. You know, like it's like the Tower card, since we've been talking so much about tarot. So much of what the Tower card symbolizes is like, yes, it is a literal burning to the ground. You know, it's like a crumbling. We call the major arcana the Fool's Journey because every piece of that is necessary. And so this is not to say that like you shouldn't or like that feeling fear is wrong. I think that that's like also a very natural part of all of it because like it's still scary to be standing in a wildfire if it's good for you or not.
Yeah.
But it is important to remember that you have to destroy so you can build.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, what keeps coming to me is like the phoenix, you know, the traditional like phoenix rises from the ashes, is born from the ashes. It's like, I think when something burns down, we can either, you know, grieve in the rubble or we can build something new.
And I think that really what you can do, or what I would like to give you, listener, permission to do is to grieve while you build.
Yeah. Oh, snaps.
Yeah.
Hot diggity damn.
Did we do it?
I think we did it. I want to leave it on that.
I think we did it.
Wow.
You know what, you guys? You light my fire.
Oh, you are my fire. The one desire, believe.
Anyways.
When I say,
bye.
Howdy doody. Thanks for listening to Demystify Magic with Molly and Madison. If you want to learn more about us, you can find all our links in the show notes.
We'd love to know what you think of today's episode, so drop us a review or give us a shout out on social media. And don't forget to let us know your magical moment of the week. Okay, love you. Bye.